So this is my week 14 NFL power rankings. I did not do an NBA power rankings video this week. It's finals week at college and, just a little bit busy, so I'm going to miss out on the NBA video this week, but hopefully that's okay. We'll get back to it next week with covering 2 weeks in that video, so that should be fun for me. But here we go. Let's get started with my NFL power rankings. At number 32, got the New England Patriots. They're just really bad. They put up 0 points this week. They lost 6-0 versus the Chargers. They only allowed 6 points and couldn't get a win. So the last 3 weeks, Patriots have allowed a total of 26 points, but scored only 13 points. So, they've been playing really, really well on defense for 3 weeks in a row. But they cannot score any points on offense. Their quarterbacks have been just absolutely atrocious. And right now, I don't think they're going to win a game the rest of the season, which is probably good, so that they can potentially have the number 2 pick to draft Drake May or any quarterback of their choosing that's not Caleb Williams, assuming he does go first overall. But there's also a world in where the Bears don't draft Caleb Williams first overall, and the Patriots could get Caleb Williams, so that would be good for them. Number 31, you got the Carolina Panthers, who are 1-11, lost 21-18 versus the Bucs, officially eliminates them from the playoff contention. So, they're likely not going to win a game the rest of the year either. So, and they're probably going to end up in the number 1 spot, which does go to Chicago, who might draft Caleb Williams first overall, might trade the pick again like they did last year, or might just draft, some other positional need for them. But that'll be interesting to see come draft time. But right now, Panthers not looking good. They don't have the draft capital to be improving a whole lot this next upcoming year. So hopefully they get some internal development from there. That's basically all that you can hope for, and I guess some good free agent signing as well. Number 30, you got the Washington Commanders, who are 4-8. Not officially out of the playoffs, but they're probably out of the playoffs. They just lost 45-15 versus the Dolphins. Horrible game. Sam Howell only had 127 yards and 1 interception. Still number 2 overall in passing yards, but still has played 1 more game than many of the other quarterbacks. He is on his bye week this week, so finally getting that bye in there. But the Commanders are just not a good football team right now. They have not been a good football team for the last few weeks. Sam Howell is not playing the best quarterback in the league, and I actually did mess up here. They are 4-9, not 4-8, but still a really bad team. Number 29, you got the New York Giants. They were on bye this week, so not too much to do there. I did move them up move them down 1 spot actually, because a team that moved ahead of them just played a really solid game. So that's basically all I got to say about the Giants. Number 28, got the New York Jets. They moved down a couple spots here. They did not play good. Tim Boyle put up a total of 8 points for them. They lost 13-8 versus the Falcons. Pretty sad game there. Tim Boyle threw a pick, had a couple of fumbles, I believe, so he got cut now. And they signed Brett Rippon to, I guess, replace him, but they did say they're going to go back to Zach Wilson as their starter, which I guess is their best option, even though he's still not very good either. But Jets are just bad right now, and without Aaron Rodgers on his team, I don't see them really winning any games for the rest of the year. If Aaron Rodgers does not come back, they could definitely get a couple wins in there, but nothing to push them towards the playoffs unless they can get a win in the next couple weeks. They got to win out basically if they want to make the playoffs, which probably not going to happen. So for the Jets, I would just hope for some internal development with Zach Wilson. I would play Zach Wilson out the rest of the season, not even bother for Aaron Rodgers. Play Zach Wilson. Hopefully he can get some development there, and then go back to Aaron Rodgers for next year, and then potentially, different quarterback after that. But right now, not looking good for you and your quarterback situation. Number 27, I got the Chicago Bears. So they're 4-8. They're on bye this week. Probably not making the playoffs unless they win out, which is not likely. I don't think they really want to win out either, but What you want to see for the Bears, you want to see Justin Fields play good the rest of the season. If he does not play particularly great the rest of the season, then you're going to look to trade him. But either way, even if he does play good, you still might look to trade him. I don't know what his value is necessarily going to be, but you're going to have the number one overall pick. You're going to want to take Caleb Williams, hopefully, and then you're going to try to trade Justin Fields for another weapon or something to help Caleb Williams out. That'd be the ideal scenario, but if you don't have any great offers you see for Justin Fields, you can also trade the first overall pick again like you did last year. Number 26 are the Arizona Cardinals. They played really, really good this week. Won 24-10 over the Steelers. Steelers were without Kenny Pickett for a majority of that game, but you still played really solid. You did cut Zach Ertz. You have Trey McBride, who's been playing really solid as of late, so you don't really need Zach Ertz. And then you give him a chance to go to a contender. He has yet to sign anywhere yet, but he's still a really solid player. And for the Cardinals, you're not going to be a great team this year. I believe you do have the Texans pick as well. So you have your pick and the Texans pick. So you have a couple picks to help you improve for next year. You're basically going to want to get a weapon for Kyler Murray because he does not have a really good receiver at all. So that's basically what you're going to try to get first is a weapon for him, which you very well could have the opportunity to draft a guy like Marvin Harrison with the first few picks of the draft. So if that is available, you got to jump on that opportunity. Number 25, you got the Las Vegas Raiders. So they were on bye this week. They're going to stay exact same spot they were. For the Raiders, they have a lot of issues with their team. The quarterback is one of them. Aiden O'Connell has not looked great, but he's still a rookie, so you still want to plan as much as you can, see if he shows any sort of promise the rest of the season. If not, then you're going to try to draft a quarterback probably if you have a high enough pick to do so. If not, maybe you can try to trade for Justin Fields or sign Kirk Cousins or something to give your team something to look forward to. Because right now with Aiden O'Connell and Jimmy Garoppolo going forward, unless O'Connell shows some improvement the rest of this year, it's not looking great. Number 24, you got the Tennessee Titans. They're 4-8. It's not a great record for them. They only lost by 3 this week versus the Colts in overtime. So I thought that was a pretty good week for them. But they also did lose Jeffrey Simmons. He got injured for a few weeks, so that's going to hurt them a little bit. That's going to definitely hurt any sort of chances they had at the playoffs for the rest of the year. I don't think they're going to make it. They got some interesting decisions to make as well, because I believe Ryan Tannehill is a free agent, so you're going to let him walk. You have Will Levis and Malik Willis still as your quarterback. That's good options there. But you don't really have a whole lot of, other talent on the roster that are just going to come back. I believe Jeffrey Simmons is a free agent, so that's going to hurt you a little bit there. I think Derrick Henry is a free agent, so you got to figure out what to do there as well. You get some free agency decisions for sure, but as long as Will Levis could be a solid quarterback, that's a good start. Number 23, you got the Buccaneers. I got to move up one spot here. They had a solid game, 21-18 win versus the Panthers. Nothing great. Mike Evans played really solid in this game with 162 yards and a touchdown. So really good performance from him. Not so much from anybody else, but you're still only one game back, or about 2 games back, I guess, from your division. I think, Falcons are 6-6, so you're only 1 game back from your division. So that's going to be your hope to make the playoffs here. But you're also still 1 game back from a wild card spot because the 7th seed is only 6-6 right now. So you definitely have a chance to make the playoffs if that's something you want to do. But, obviously it's something you want to do. But for benefit of your team, I'm not sure if the playoffs is exactly what you want right now. But, it's obviously good to be there. Number 22, you got the New Orleans Saints in basically the same position as the Bucs. They lost this week to the Lions. It was a very close game. Lost by 5 points, I believe, so not too upset about that. They did lose Marcus May to the IR, but they signed Jonathan Abram to replace him. Derek Carr got injured in this game. He might play Week 14, might not. Jameis Winston is your other option there, who isn't a bad option to back up Derek Carr. But, your offense has been struggling recently. You played really good this week, putting up 28 points. but you still had 2 turnovers. So likely, if you don't turn over the ball, you could win that game, which would have been really good for you and your division chances. But either way, you played pretty solid, but you do got some injury issues with this team, which is continuing to pile up. So not great for the Saints, but you definitely have a very realistic chance to still win your division and make the playoffs. Number 21, you got the Los Angeles Chargers. Got a much-needed win over the Patriots this week. Even though it was only a 6-0 win, your offense looked very atrocious in this game, which is kind of, like your offense was the part that was looking really good for you this season. Your offense looked atrocious, but your defense looked great, allowing 0 points. But you also played Bailey Zappi and the Patriots, who kind of sucked. So I'm not really going to credit your defense too much. It's basically just you're benefiting from playing New England, but your offense, got to get better than 6 points. You play the Broncos next week. You really need to win that game if you want a chance of making the playoffs. Because if you lose to the Broncos, you're going to be 5-8, and then you're going to have to win out after that for any chance of making the playoffs. So you got to win next week if you want a chance. Definitely a possibility you could beat the Broncos, but you got to play better than you did against the Patriots. Number 20, you got the Cleveland Browns. They played, not great this week. They lost a pretty bad 36-19 versus the Rams. Joe Flacco was solid with 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 pick, so he wasn't the reason they lost. I mean, their defense did not help them at all, letting the Rams put up 36 points on them. It's definitely not ideal, but you do get to play the Jags next week, who might be without Trevor Lawrence, and if they are, you should be able to get a win there, which will definitely help you. You're still currently in the playoff picture, and you have a fairly easy schedule, especially if Trevor Lawrence is not played next week. If Trevor Lawrence is out, then your current quarterback schedule here, you got to play C.J. Beathard in the Jags, Justin Fields in the Bears, C.J. Stroud in the Texans. That's a tough one. Likely Zach Wilson in the Jets, maybe Aaron Rodgers, but probably not. Likely Zach Wilson in the Jets, and then Jake Browning and the Bengals, who did look really good this week, but I don't expect him to keep up, that insane performance. So the best quarterback you got to play is C.J. Stroud, and after that, best quarterback you got to play is Justin Fields. So you definitely have a very realistic path to 10 wins and a playoff spot here, but you're going to have to take care of the Jacksonville Jaguars this week, and you're going to really hope that Trevor Lawrence is not playing. That'll give you a way better chance of winning that game. Number 19, you got the Minnesota Vikings, who are on bye this week. They got Justin Jefferson back for next week, so that's definitely going to help out their offense a little bit. Josh Dobbs cannot play how he did last time, throwing 4 interceptions. So as long as he does not suck, you got to play the Raiders this week. So you definitely could beat the Raiders. As long as you don't suck this week, you should be able to beat the Raiders, and that will definitely help you out in your playoff spots. Number 18, you got the Atlanta Falcons. They're 6-6. Had a good win versus the Jets this week. Now won 13-8. Not a great win there, but a win is a win. Desmond Ridder looked like garbage, 121 yards. So not great there, but you got to win. That's really all you needed. You got to win a couple more games here. You got Tampa Bay and Carolina coming up, 2 divisional games. So if you can win both of those games, you should be prime position to make the playoffs here and win your division at a potentially 8-9 record is all you need to win this division, and right now that's probably where you're going to be at. So good for you guys, but you really need to upgrade your quarterback next year if you want a chance to make any real playoff noise, because Desmond Ridder is just not it right now. Number 17, you got the Cincinnati Bengals, who played really, really good this week. Jake Browning played the best of any quarterback all season, really. He had 354 yards on 86% completion percentage with 2 total touchdowns. So a really, really good game and a really good win for them over the Jags this week. So Bengals, if Jake Browning can continue to play like that, that's Joe Burrow plus level of quarterback play right there. So obviously, if you can do that every week, you should have no trouble making the playoffs. But that's probably not going to be sustainable. But it's definitely a good 1-week story nonetheless. Number 16, you got the Pittsburgh Steelers dropping 4 spots. They lost 24-10 versus the Cardinals. Not a great game there. Kenny Pickett did get injured, but Trubisky did not play bad when he was in. Trubisky, let's see. Yeah, Trubisky put up 117 yards and 1 touchdown on only 17 passes, so not a bad performance from him in his limited time. But you only had 187 total yards of passing between Trubisky and Pickett. You got to have more than that if you want to win the game. You did have brain issues in this game, so that was probably part of why your passing numbers were not very high. But you gotta play better than that if you want to be able to make the playoffs. You do got the Patriots next week on Thursday Night Football, so that should be a good game for you guys with Kenny Pickett injured in that game. That should be a good game for you guys to be able to win with Mitchell Trubisky. Kenny Pickett could be missing more than 1 week, but he'll have 2 weeks to be ready for the next game. If you can get the win over New England, you should be pretty solid in your playoff hopes. Number 15, you got the Denver Broncos. Lost to the Texans this week, I believe by 5 points. Right? Let's find the game. 22-17. Yeah, you lost by 5. Not a bad game, but you did throw 3 interceptions, which is not great. So Russell Wilson, you got to do better than that. He had a chance to win it on the last drive, threw an interception, so not great. Not a great look there. You got the Chargers coming up this week. You're going to need to win that game because then you got Detroit coming after that, which is not an easy game there. So if you can beat the Chargers this week, that'll be really good. If you lose to the Chargers this week, then you're going to be below the Chargers in the standing, which definitely not helpful because then the Chargers have the advantage over you to make the playoffs, along with there's already 4 other teams, I believe, above you in the playoff race. So you got to win this week against the Chargers. If you can't do that, it's going to be very hard for you to make the playoffs. Number 14, you got the Seahawks, who did not play bad at all this week. They did lose to the Cowboys by 6 points, but you played really, really good, putting up 35 points. Your defense just let up 41, which is not good at all. But Geno Smith played really great with 334 yards and 4 total touchdowns to go along with only 1 interception. So he played really good, but DK did good too with 134 yards and 3 touchdowns, but you still end up losing this game. They're currently, I think, in the playoff picture at 6-6. There's a few teams tied for 6-6. And you got San Francisco and Philadelphia coming up. So that's definitely going to be very difficult for you. You do got 3 easy games to finish the year. So hopefully, if you go 9-8, you should be able to make the playoffs. But you're going to have to hope these other 6-6 teams start to lose some games. Here you got the Houston Texans at 7-5, so they're going to actually drop 3 spots here after beating the Broncos by 5 points because you did lose your starting center, Jarrett Patterson, to the IR, so that's going to hurt you a little bit there. And you lost one of your best top 2 receivers in Tank Dell, who's been really good this season. You lost him for the whole season. He fractured his fibula, I believe, so he could potentially be out for the start of next year as well, just depending on how his recovery process goes. So that's definitely a big blow to this offense. So, you do got a pretty easy schedule to finish out the year with the Jets, the Titans twice, Browns, and the Colts. So as long as you're going to win 2 of those games, which is very likely, you should be solidified in a playoff spot. So I don't have too much I wouldn't be too worried about making the playoffs, but you're going to have to hope that other guys can step up and replace what Tank Dell was providing for you. Number 12, you got the Indianapolis Colts. They're going to jump up 5 spots here, actually. They played really good this week, 31-28 win versus the Titans. So, it was a good offensive game. Your defense, you look, the Titans scored 28 points. That's not great, but, Gardner Minshew played good, having 300 total yards and 2 touchdowns. You had Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce both go for 106 yards and a touchdown. So really good offensive performance, which is basically all you really need out of your Colts. Because if you're going to put up 30 points, you don't really got to play much defense. And coming up on your schedule, you got the Bengals, the Steelers, the Falcons, the Raiders, and the Texans. So definitely some very winnable games on that schedule. And I could definitely see the Colts getting to about 10 wins and being in the playoffs. Number 11, you got the Los Angeles Rams, who are, up there with those NFC teams that are all 6-6. But the Rams this week played really good, beat the Browns 36-19. They've won, I believe, 3 games in a row. So really looking really good for the Rams right now. Let's find them. So if you guys want a chance to make the playoffs, you're going to have to probably go at least 3-2 over your next 5 games. You got some tough games against the Ravens and the Niners. So that's going to be hard for you guys. But as long as you can get your wins over the Saints, the Giants, and the Commanders, you should be a solid 9-8, which is definitely, will definitely give you a good chance to make the playoffs. Number 10, you have the Jacksonville Jaguars. So you lost this week to the Bengals. Definitely a tough L there. Trevor Lawrence did get injured in that game. He could miss Week 14 and potentially more, but probably only missing 1 game. The injury definitely could have been a lot worse than that. So missing only 1 game is definitely good for him, because it definitely looked like he could be missing about 4 to 6 games with that injury. But it should be a short-term injury, which is good. But you're probably going to miss for 1 game, and you're likely going to lose that game versus the Cleveland Browns. I mean, it definitely could be a close game, but I'll probably pick the Browns in that game if C.J. Beathard is the starting quarterback. But the Browns are also with a backup quarterback that hasn't even played for more than 1 game all season in Joe Flacco. So it's a backup versus backup in that game as well. So it definitely could be an interesting game for the Jaguars. But yeah, you also lost Christian Kirk for 6 to 8 weeks, which is going to be at least the rest of the regular season, potentially a playoff return. But even that, you're going to have to win a game in the playoffs to get him to come back for that. So it's definitely a blow to your offense as well. So not a great look for the Jacksonville Jaguars, but you definitely should be having your playoff spot wrapped up. Your division, maybe not so much if you lose your next 2 games against the Browns and the Ravens. If you lose both of those games, the Texans very well could jump you, or the Colts even could jump you in the rankings. So you're going to have to try to win one of those games without Trevor Lawrence potentially. So tough. But yeah, we have the Bills here at number 9. They're 6-6. They had a bye this week. They got Kansas City coming up. I don't know if they're going to be able to beat Kansas City, but if they do, that would obviously be really good for them. I would project them to lose that game, but after that, they got Dallas coming up too, which is definitely another tough game there. So they got 2 tough games back-to-back, and they got Chargers, Patriots, and Dolphins after that. So really, you only have 1 easy win on your schedule, and then 4 really tough games. You're going to have to win at least 2, maybe even 3 of those tough games, which means you got to go probably 4-1, or at least 3-2 to end the season. Which I don't know if that's going to be happening for the Bills right now, but you did look really good against the Eagles last week. You just came up just short, and then you had your bye week coming up to give you some momentum and coming up in your next 2 really tough games against Kansas City and Dallas. So if you can capitalize off that bye week and get a couple wins right here, then you should have no trouble making the playoffs. Number 8, you got the Green Bay Packers, who are only 6-6, going to be at number 8 up here. They beat the Chiefs 27-19, so a really good game for the Packers this week. Did not expect that to happen, but Jordan Love played really good with 267 yards and 3 touchdowns. Christian Watson had 2 touchdowns himself, and you probably got the easiest schedule remaining in the entire league with your remaining schedule being the Giants, the Bucs, the Panthers, the Vikings, and the Bears. So you have no team left with a winning record. You got best quarterback you have to play is Justin Fields. So, I mean, yeah, you definitely should be able to win at least 4 of those games, which you only probably got to win 3 of them to make the playoffs. You could easily win all 5 of them, which would give you like an 8-game winning streak going into the playoffs, which would be really, really good. Really, really good for your momentum going into that, but I see no real scenario where the Packers do not make the playoffs as of right now. Number 7, you got the Detroit Lions, who are 9-3. They've been playing really solid. They beat the Saints here only by 5, but still really good offensive performance for the Lions there, putting up 33 points. And you had 2 takeaways on defense, so really good there. Sam Laporta had 140 yards this game, which is really good, and a touchdown on top of that. So he was your best weapon. He had 140 of the 214 passing yards this week, so that's really impressive there. And for the Lions, you have a real shot right now to be able to take the number 1 seed as long as you guys can win out and hope that Dallas beats Philly, and you got to hope you have some tiebreaker stuff in there that gets you ahead. Because there's a real possibility where you got the Lions, the Niners, the Eagles, and the Cowboys all with only 4 or with only 3 losses. So I don't know how the tiebreakers would work there, but I feel like there's a situation where the Lions could be the number 1 seed, which would be really, really good for them. But you'd have to win out, which is definitely doable with games against Chicago, Denver, Minnesota twice, and then that Dallas game is going to be really important in Week 17 for your playoff spots. Number 6, you got Kansas City here, dropping 3 spots, lost to the Packers by 8. I talked about that game already a little bit, but let's still talk about Patrick Mahomes specifically. He only threw for 210 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 pick, so not a great performance from him. They had a chance to go down the field and score a touchdown, only down 5 with, I think, like 4 minutes left or something, and they threw a pick. So not a good look for him there. Pacheco played really good with 123 yards and a touchdown, but, the rest of your offense not being great. Your defense, probably the worst you've played all season, so not a good look for your defense. You got a tough game coming up against Buffalo. You're going to really want to win that game if you want to be the number 1 seed still. Because right now you're 1 game behind Baltimore and Miami, which you do have the tiebreaker for both of them, as long as you win out. You have the tiebreaker head-to-head over Miami. You would have the conference record head-to-head versus Baltimore, as long as you guys don't lose another conference game coming up, which I believe every single one of your games coming up is a conference game. And everyone besides Buffalo this week should be an easy win with New England, Raiders, Bengals, and Chargers. Those should all be pretty easy wins. You're just going to have to hope that Miami and Baltimore both lose a game the rest of the year, which is very doable. And you got lucky with the Jags losing to Jake Browning, so that was good for the Chiefs. Number 5, you got the Eagles here. The guy absolutely curb stopped 42-19 versus the San Francisco 49ers. It was kind of a tough game to watch. Jalen Hurts had nearly 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, but he didn't play bad. A.J. Brown had 100 yards plus. Devontae Smith nearly 100 yards and a touchdown. So you didn't really play horrible. You couldn't finish all your drives with touchdowns. And your defense let the Niners put up 42 points, which is not a good look for you at all. You did sign Shaq Leonard to help with your defense, so that's something. But I don't know how well that's gonna really make an impact. I think he'll make a little bit of an impact, but I don't think it's gonna help you beat the 49ers if you got to play them again in the playoffs. So. That's that. You got Dallas coming up this week, which is going to be really important for your playoff seeding. Because if you lose that game, then you already lost control over the number 1 seed. It would go to San Francisco, and then you'd be tied with Dallas. I don't know how that tiebreaker would play out, but you could potentially be dropping from the 1 seed to the 5 seed in a matter of 1 game. So definitely going to want to win that game for sure. I don't see you losing another game this season. You got Seattle, New York Giants twice, and the Cardinals. So those should all be wins. As long as you can take care of Dallas here, then you should be able to get the number 1 seed fairly easily. But I don't know if you're going to be able to beat Dallas twice this season. Number 4, we got the Dallas Cowboys, who are 9-3. Just talked about their playoff scenarios with the Philadelphia Eagles. Cowboys likely would not be able to get the 1 seed because Niners have the head-to-head over them, but they could very well jump from the 5 seed to the 2 seed in a matter of 1 game this upcoming week. And their games after this week, they got Buffalo, Miami, Detroit, and Washington, so definitely a very tough schedule for them as well. It's not like they can beat Philadelphia and just automatically have have a division, but they got 4 really tough games coming up. So they're going to have to take care of Philadelphia first off. And after that, you're going to have to hope they can get some more wins out of there. But I don't think the Cowboys have the realistic chance to lead this division at the end of the season, even if they beat the Eagles this week, just because their remaining schedule is so much tougher than the Eagles. Number 3, you got the Baltimore Ravens, who are looking like the best team in the AFC, one of the best teams in the AFC. They're 9-3. Dolphins are also 9-3. For the Ravens, you're on the bye this week, so I don't really got a lot to talk about, but you do got some very important games coming up. You got the Rams this week, who I think the Rams have been playing really solid as of late, so you're definitely going to have to take advantage of your bye week and come out and win that game. And then you got some tough games with the Jaguars, potentially with Trevor Lawrence back, the Niners, and the Dolphins. So you're going to have to be able to beat the Jags. If you lose to the Jags, and you guys end up with the same record, the Jags will have the head-to-head over you. So you could very well, as long as you can beat the Rams this week, and if the Jags win this week, you could jump to the 4th seed with a loss to the Jaguars, which is not ideal. And then, even if you beat the Jags, you still got to play San Francisco. Then you got to play Miami, which that Miami game in Week 17 very well could be the difference between the 1 and the 2 seed at that point, or the 2 and the 3 seed, depending on if you would have lost to the San Francisco 49ers before that. But you got a very tough schedule coming up for the Ravens. You're going to have to win probably all of them if you want to be the 1 seed, which is not very likely. Number 2, we got the Miami Dolphins. And who played really good this week, but again, they don't have the very easy schedule coming up either. They got to play the Titans and the Jets, which those should be, not completely difficult, but they got to play Dallas, Baltimore, and Buffalo to close out their season. So again, if they want to be the number 1 seed, they're going to probably have to win out, or hope that Baltimore and Kansas City also lose a game. But I don't know if that's likely. I think Kansas City has pretty easy road to be able to win out this season as long as they can beat the Bills. And the Dolphins, they got a very tough schedule. They got 3 tough games. The Ravens got 4 tough games. So I think the Chiefs probably got the best road to the number 1 seed as of right now, as long as they can take care of Buffalo, because the rest of these teams got a lot of tough schedules coming up. And then that leads us to number 1, which is the San Francisco 49ers, who I think will probably end up being the number 1 seed in NFC, because I would predict Philadelphia to probably lose to Dallas this week. Just because I don't think that Philly's going to be able to beat Dallas twice. The last game was like a 5-point game between Philly and Dallas. So I think Dallas could pull that one out, especially after how Philadelphia played against the 49ers this week. And Dallas has been pretty hot as of late. But specifically for the Niners, Brock Purdy threw for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. McCaffrey had 133 yards and a touchdown. Deebo had 138 yards and 3 touchdowns. So really, really good performance from your offense this week. You got a couple tough games with Seattle's a little tough. Baltimore's going to be a tough game, and then Week 18 against the Rams could potentially be a tough game. But I think the Niners will probably end up winning out this season and end up with the number 1 seed. They've been playing completely dominant over the last few weeks in games that Brock Purdy, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle all finished the game. They're undefeated. So those 3 losses were when they had a few injuries to their team. So this team healthy is undefeated this season. And then we got my game pick. So let's start off with last week. We went 8-5 last week. Total record of 128-65, which is like 66% win percentage, so not a bad record there. My lock and upset of the week both lost with the Jags were my lock. They ended up losing. The Browns were my upset. They ended up losing to the Rams. So, kind of upsetting there. But for this week, we got the Steelers over the Patriots. That should be a pretty easy game there. Falcons over the Bucks. I mean, that could be close, but I'm gonna ride with the Falcons there. Ravens over Rams. It could be closer than it should be, but I feel like the Ravens should be able to take advantage of their bye week and get a win coming out of it. Saints over the Panthers. Panthers are trash. Saints are winning that game. Lions over the Bears. The Bears aren't very good. Lions should be able to win that game. It could be close because it's a divisional game. It was close last time, but I got the Lions pulling it out. Colts and Bengals, I don't think Jake Browning is going to play amazing like he did last game. I think the Colts have been really hot as of late, so I think the Colts will continue to be hot right now and end up winning that game as well. Jags versus Browns. I got the depends if Trevor Lawrence is playing. If Trevor Lawrence is going to play, I got the Jags winning. If he doesn't play, I got the Browns winning. I think it's probably more likely that he does not play right now, but they said he's very questionable because he's not even walking around in a boot or crutches or anything. So there's going to likely be a decision that comes down to Friday or even Sunday, whether he plays or not. So, I'm just going to have a split decision there and make that decision later based off of if he's going to play or not. Texans over the Jets. I feel like, Texans should be able to beat the Jets. The Jets offense is so bad. Texans offense is, should be probably worse without Tank Dell, but I think they'll still get a win here. Niners over Seahawks. Niners have looked absolutely dominant. Seahawks looked really good against the Cowboys, but no one's going to beat a healthy 49ers team. Sorry. Raiders over Vikings. I mean, that's my upset of the week here. Vikings definitely could win that game, but if Josh Dobbs plays anything like he did the week before the bye week, the Raiders are going to win this game pretty easily. You got Josh Dobbs versus Aiden O'Connell, so not exactly the best quarterback matchup coming up. But the Raiders, you got Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs. Vikings still have Justin Jefferson back. But overall, I think the Raiders do have the better weapons. They're definitely been the healthier team because Justin Jefferson, this is his first game back, so you don't know completely how healthy he is going to be in his first game back. So I will go with the Raiders there. I got the Chiefs over the Bills. That should be a close, fun, high-scoring game, but I'm going to have the Chiefs pulling it out because I think their defense is, better than the Bills' defense. That's going to be the deciding factor there. Chargers, I got the Chargers beating the Broncos. This is a must-win game for both teams, honestly, but Broncos just lost to the Texans. Chargers just won, even though it was a pathetic win. They did end up winning. I think the Chargers have more offensive talent than the Broncos. I think that's pretty, I think that's not exactly much of an argument. They have a better quarterback, they have a better running back, got a better receiver, one at least, in Keenan Allen. So I think they definitely have the better offense, and I think they have a good chance to pull off a win there in the divisional matchup. I got the Cowboys over the Eagles. Like I said, I don't think the Eagles can beat the Cowboys twice this season. Dolphins over the Titans. That should be a fairly easy game for the Dolphins. I got the Packers over the Giants. That should be a pretty easy game for the Packers as well, honestly. So yeah, that is my, those are my predictions. This is my power rankings video. Sorry for not having an NBA power rankings video this week. We'll get that out next week. And we'll get another NFL video coming out next week, so make sure to check those out. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you thought about this video, and goodbye.